Hey, it's Renee Audrey on Fine Tune Between the Lyrics, my podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're a newbie here, what we usually do is we take songs that we know and love or songs that we don't even know at all, and we break it down. We get into the lyrics, the music, the meaning, and get into the nitty-gritty about what the song means about our world. But for this week's episode, I have a little bit of a different thing planned for you. Actually, this third episode is going to be an interview of an upcoming artist. And I'm thinking about making this a segment or feature to the podcast. I'm not going to stop analyzing songs that we know and love, but I want to incorporate new voices, up-and-coming voices, so we can all, broaden our music taste. We can always listen to more songs in the shower. We can always take the long drive home from work to listen to more music. I do it all the time. So I'm going to be introducing to you guys Brandon Mesén from Mesén Around Music. He's a real upcoming artist. He's got around 15,000 followers on Instagram. He's definitely up and coming. He's super chill, super nice. And this podcast is going to be a Zoom call interview of his story. But it would not be a fine tune between the lyrics episode if we did not break down a song and get into the nitty gritty. So Brandon is going to be talking about his new song called Star Killer. And he's actually going to play it for us at the end of the episode. But we're going to get into the lyrics and the music together. And he's going to tell us his process and everything along those lines. So I'm real flippin' excited about this. But bear with me, the audio is not this crisp mic sound. It's going to be a Zoom call. It's not too bad. But because of Corona, we got to make do with what we got. All of Brandon's info is in the description box of this episode. I'll provide a link to his Spotify, to his Instagram. Keep in mind though, his song Star Killer will not be linked in the description box because he actually has not released this song yet and he's planning on dropping it later on. So lucky for us, we get Brandon's song on my podcast. So this is super exciting. So let's hop on the interview. So I'm here with Brandon Mesén from Mesén Around Music. Brandon, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Wyoming. DuBois, Wyoming.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this podcast. So we are actually on a Zoom call right now because of COVID. So obviously you're hearing the audio podcast. But Brandon, could you give us a little intro? Tell us a little bit, what's your origin story? Anything you feel our listeners should know. What was your inspiration?
So my name is Brandon William Mesén.
Oh, middle name. Throw that in there.
Well, ladies and gentlemen.
Throw the cowboy hat off. He had a cowboy hat in the beginning of the podcast. But continue on, Brandon.
If I was really to think back, it started from the day I was born and how I grew up. I grew up in this very poor neighborhood. It was like a townhouses central in West Grove. It was a train wreck. But
oh, wow.
I was so young, so I didn't even understand that. All I knew at a young age was that I'm alive, baby. I'm alive. And I got feet. I got a brain. I didn't even own shoes. Wow. I didn't like shoes at all. I hated shoes because I just loved to be outside. And there was a nice, huge field right in the middle of the neighborhood. And so I'd always just run outside barefoot, climb the trees.
Oh, that's so fun.
And I would just listen to the birds, literally listen to the birds and just like relax and just listen to the birds. And I think that is where everything stemmed from, and listening to the sound of music. It took me approximately like 8 years to even get involved into music. I just knew that I loved it. Like it was
like
always
you were really connected. You were super connected with it. But how did you get into music? How did you get into songwriting? I'm dying to know.
So my first instrument, my parents gave me a drum kit, a little miniature drum kit at the age, I believe, 6.
Oh, wow.
I believe it's 6. And you know me, and during that time, all I would listen to was like Green Day and Maroon 5. And so I began to play drums. So then middle school, my friend introduced me with the ukulele.
Mm-hmm.
And so I picked it up, played some songs, I wrote some songs. I was like, holy crud, I can play music. One in the world, once they pick up an instrument and they just play around with it, they're like, oh my God.
Yeah, music is honestly the superpower. I really think that the superpower for the mind, for not only providing you or giving you such a sense of peace, but I also think that it's a superpower because it gives you that avenue to express yourself. Like, I think that when you said that growing up, music, you knew that that was your connection to the world, that was your calling, that's what you were meant to do.
And that's why I'm doing music. It's for kids growing up. They need to hear some music that is about love and appreciation and caring and taking care of people. They need that. And that's why I'm doing this.
I love that you're giving us such positivity and such passion in your story. That's amazing. So songwriting, like your music, what genre would you say your music kind of falls into? Or do you really think that it's kind of a mix of everything? Tell us about that.
So as you see here, ladies and gentlemen, I put back my cowboy hat. So my family has like a cabin out here in Wyoming, and that's why I'm here right now. And so ever since I was born, I'd always come out here for like a summer. And I think the West, if you guys heard my first album called Adventure Walks, it's like more Western-ish, like cowboy Western-ish. And it's just funny how that stemmed. But I would say now it's more like a rock on indie pop.
I love the mix of everything. And I really think that your music, from like what I've listened to from your song, like it definitely kind of gives off like this very vibey, mellow sound. Like every single time I listen to the song that we're going to be discussing on the podcast, I feel like I need to be sitting in a beach chair. I need to have a margarita in my hand, and I need to be relaxing on the beach. I really get this mellowed out vibe, and I love it. But we're about to jump into this song. So you are dropping the song Star Killer. Can you tell us about what your inspiration was for this song? What's the story? What message you want to send to everyone?
Okay, so I would say the message is just to be yourself and not have these star killers stop you from being a shining star in the sky. This is a beautiful life, and we can't be scared and we can't be afraid. We just need to keep going on and fight and fight and fight and just be positive. And that's the message.
I love that. I really love the imagery that you're giving us in this song. You start off the song saying hello to the sky while we fly. Love that. I feel like I'm soaring with you when you sing it. I love how you start off with this gorgeous image of you talking to a person that you have a lot of love for. Like, was this song created out of romantic interest?
It's like all my songs are very romantic, and they have a lot to do about romance and feelings about that.
Love it. So to get into the lyrics, with this story, you have hello to the sky while we fly. We're waking fresh out of blues, wear my shoes, feels so good to be yours and you to be mine. Baby, you look fine every time. But then you say, she's a star killer. Killer, don't you mess with my mind. So you're giving us this gorgeous image of this love that you have for this person, but what makes her a star killer? Like what's that imagery that you're giving us?
See, I think it's more of a play on words, because for me, it's all about beautifulness and being in love. And it's an interesting kind of song and story, because there's like two things going on at once, and people may correlate that with something else. But when I say star killer, it's not really about anyone in general. It's about, when they see you doing good for yourself, it's like, they want to bash them.
Right.
So the person feels like they're nothing in the world. And I'm just trying to spread a message. Everyone is so like insecure these days, and like they really care, and there's some people that don't care at all. Don't let things affect you.
Exactly.
You gotta own up, and you just gotta don't let these star killers stop you from being a star. And you're meant to shine.
That's beautiful. And I think that one of the lines that I think really shows to like kind of stick to your guns and be who you really are is when you say, got the wisdom inside the trees. You can save them from the birds and the bees. Give me time, we can run away. And I really love how you're saying that you already have the wisdom. I feel like that you are the tree. Like you are this tree of wisdom that's growing. You're being the person that you want to be. But you have all this wisdom inside of you, and you're not letting a star killer tell you that you don't have that wisdom. Like you're sure that you have this wisdom inside of yourself, regardless of the love that you feel towards anyone, towards a person that you're interested in, or towards the world. And I love how you're making the song, even it has like a romantic context to it, you're giving it a worldly view. You're giving it world context. I love that. And I think that this really speaks a lot to dating culture and how it is in 2020 and how it is between, people in their 20s, Gen Z, millennials. It's tough when you have Instagram, when you have Facebook, when you have Snapchat telling you that you don't have wisdom in your tree. Like I have wisdom in my tree, and I know I have wisdom in my tree, but we can't let the people that intercept our time and that intercept our brain space, we can't let them be our star killers, because we're stars and we have to show our shine and show our love. And I think that that's just a beautiful message that you're giving in your song.
Thank you so much.
Oh, of course. So where were you when you were writing this? What were you feeling? What was in your mind? What interactions did you have prior? What sparked this song? Take me back in time.
So at the time, I think it was like love was a battlefield. Like sometimes love, or if you think it's love or not, sometimes you can fall into some traps and it's not love, and that's basically what Star Killers was to me. You fall into something that wasn't even love, and it's like doing so much for something that doesn't even love you, and it's like a star killer, and it's wasting your time and your energy, and you just gotta you gotta realize. And people need to start realizing, I think that if everyone was just fall in love, I just want to change the world. And I know you're changing the world too. I know you are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, I'm blushing now. Yeah, I think that if they find somebody to fall in love with, or if they fall in love with the music, but I think that's something that makes star killers disappear is falling in love with yourself. And I think that that's what you're really trying to get at, is that in order to not let the star killers tell you don't have wisdom in your tree, but in order for them to not do that, you need to love yourself first. And I think that this says a lot about relationships in 2020, relationships in general, that in order for you to love anybody else, you have to love yourself first and know that you have to know your self-worth. And I think that especially with COVID right now, everyone is very isolated and everyone's sitting with themselves. And I think that this song is like giving you a little bit of like a check-in, saying like, hey, like, do you know how worthy to be in the body that you're in, to be in the soul that you have, And I really love how you're giving us that message and that image. And I think it's so beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Of course. So, Brandon, to take us home with you and your cowboy hat on, do you want to play your song Star Killer for us? And also, do we have a little bit of a knowing when this is going to be released?
I want to see an exact date, but sometimes when you distribute music, it takes like a week to even get on the distribution. So I want to say middle of August is when Star Killer is going to drop, ladies and gentlemen.
Love it. Love the passion. Love it, Brandon. Alrighty. So let's hear Star Killer.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, this one is called Star Killer. You guys are hearing it first. Peace and love. Hello to the sky while we fly. Ba ba ba, ba ba ba. Waking fresh out blue. Wear my shoes. Feels so good to be yours and you to be mine. Oh, baby, you look fine every time. She's a star killer, killer. Don't you mess with my mind. Yeah. She's a star killer, killer. Don't you mess with my mind. Got the wisdom inside the trees. You can save them from the birds and the bees. Just give me time, we can float away. Got the wisdom inside the trees. You can save them from the birds and the bees. Just give me some time, we could run away. Oh, wow. She's a star killer, mess with my mind. Hey, she's a star killer. Oh, now don't you mess with my mind. Hey, na. Got to find you. Hey, tell me something about you. Give me from time to time when you're running around, and I give it down. Hey, I'll give it down.
Yes, Brandon, amazing. I absolutely love it. And the message is beautiful. I am so happy that you shared with us your song. I can't wait for your song to drop. It's super awesome. And the guitar is so stunning. And I'll tell you something, I really have a super deep appreciation for people to incorporate authentic acoustic sound in their production, in their music, and you do it beautifully. And I love it. So awesome, Brandon. Thank you so much for coming on my show on the podcast. This was so much fun. It was so awesome getting to know you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So that was our interview with Brandon Mesén. It was so awesome having him on the podcast, and I'm really happy that he kicked off this segment. So as per usual, if you have a song that's making your day so much better, or a song that you've known for a really long time and you're like, I love it, but I have no idea what it's saying, DM me at btn.the.lyrics and on my personal account at renee.aud on Instagram, and I can talk about it on the podcast. I always love hearing your song recommendations. Thank you guys so much again for bearing with me with the audio, and thank you so much for tuning in. This is Renee Audrey on Fine Tuned Between the Lyrics. All the best.